Now, in series of meetings here and overseas among committed, dedicated Muslims in particular, and those who express in strong terms their humanitarian concerns, this development in Egypt and the turmoil in the Arab world is seen as a major catastrophe for the Ummah in recent times. Every state, from Iraq to Afghanistan, now Syria, Egypt, the next target possibly Tunisia, and more pronounced Turkey. I'm not a major supporter of this conspirational theories, but this issue must be addressed. In my meeting with Sheikh Rashid Al-Nusi, some representatives from Egypt, Syria, and long sessions with Foreign Minister Davutoglu and Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul last week, I think the general call is for us to take a firm position and stand. We believe in freedom and democracy and human dignity. A coup is a coup. An attempt in the United States and Europe, the exception of Germany in a nuanced stance, refusal to acknowledge it's a coup is the beginning of the problem. You find that because the so-called Islamists are in power, notwithstanding some of the reservations expressed, I mean, Ustaz Ghani gives his glowing tribute to Morsi. I share most of it, but I also understand the blighted economic conditions in Egypt. I was invited by Sheikh Rashid Al-Nusi last year to visit Tunisia, address the parliamentarians, particularly from Nahda, met the cabinet members, briefed by the central bank governor, the minister of finance. Then Sheikh Rashid asked me, Anwar, we want your comment. You seem to be too quiet. You're invited here to help and give us ideas. And I said, I have been the Minister of Finance for 8 years, but I don't know how to advise state of economy which is nearly bankrupt. You can't blame the present Tunisian government, democratically elected. The country has been destroyed and plundered by the dictators, blatantly corrupt, and stole billions of dollars away. And now, in a matter of 6 months at that time, they expected Tunisia to solve all the problems in the world. Sheikh Rashid Al-Nusi made this observation. Sheikh Yusuf Al-Khadawi made this observation. The West, and in fact the Egyptian masses, had to tolerate 3 decades of ruthless rule, blatantly corrupt, the destruction of institutions in Egypt. And after Morsi, in 1 year, is expected to resolve all the outstanding problems. I heard a long interview by Tony Blair in Al Jazeera, who tried in a nuanced fashion to rationalize the coup. Well, this is not an ordinary coup because there is this absurd demand by millions of Egyptians expressing their disgust over the failure of Morsi to undertake meaningful measures. The Morsi is clearly incompetent. See, this is the first time in modern history that you rationalize a coup. Now, I said, looking at the policies, pronouncements of Morsi, I may have some personal reservations, what I would consider to be a priority that he did not address. But you can't rationalize the coup. And it's interesting to speak by the Malaysian media, the UMNO-backed media, because they match demonstrations. Therefore, there is a reason for coup. Let me match demonstrations here in Malaysia. Why is there no change? The change can and must only take place through legitimate expression of the people, through fair and free elections. Well, that's the first one. Then Tony Blair was asked the second question. But here there were killings. Thousands were killed. Where is response? Interesting. It's clearly hypocritical, dishonest, and shows so much malice and prejudice just because they happen to be Muslims or Islamists or the Ikhwan. He said, well, we have to get to the crux of the matter, whether the security forces were provoked or not. This is the first time in recent times I hear the Western leader, a great proponent of democracy, would utter such rubbish in defense of mass killings. Can we hope? No. It's clearly double standard hypocrisy. Even the United States, I've always said consistently from 2005 in the Doha Forum, this policy of ambivalence. Sometimes we support dictators, sometimes we promote democracy. Where it suits your interest. Our position, Muslims or non-Muslims, in Malaysia, for that matter, in the world, must have a consistent, coherent message. Do we support freedom and human dignity? If we do, then whether it is in support of Aung San Suu Kyi, a Buddhist, and we supported her on the premise that she has been victimized, that her right has been denied, and the military junta has no respect for human rights. In the same manner, we deplore the atrocities inflicted on the Rohingyas, the Rakhine Muslims, because it reflects a failure to be consistent and coherent. And people ask, why do you support Aung San Suu Kyi? In fact, Khabarul Jafar is here. I've always said, Muslim parties, including PAS or Keadilan or all other groups, irrespective whether it is Rwanda, a plight of the non-Muslims, we must be unequivocal in our call and demand that justice must be given. And in the same way, now we find in the Muslim world, we expect the same expression. That's why I have no qualms talking with Jintong Khairi here, with our friends in the DAP, to express the same manner. And I'm very pleased that these here as participants and contribute to the cause. This will by itself show that PAS, Keadilan, DAP here seem to be far more committed in defense of rights of those abused than the UMNO and leadership in the UMNO media. Now, my deliberations with Tayyip Erdogan, the two issues raised. Firstly, that we must understand that this is a major catastrophe of the Holy War. Yes, Egypt is a focus of attention. And today, the deliberations in the United States on Syria, But prior to this, Afghanistan, Iraq has been virtually destroyed. And I don't believe this is the end. That is why we expect leaders to propose a message, a strong message. There is a deficit in the Ummah, in terms of leadership. Only Tayyip Erdogan, as Azmi said, I mean, of course, they criticize me because I happen to support my friend. It's not a matter of friendship. I had hours of sessions with him on this issue. And he speaks passionately. And I am equally, as many of you, concerned about his personal welfare and Turkey being the target. You know what was his response? Very emotional as a brother. He said, I'm the Prime Minister for the last 10 years of a great country with a great history. What do you expect me to do? To remain silent like many of the other Arab and Muslim leaders? When I watch women and children beaten or killed, I'm not fit to become Prime Minister if I cannot articulate to defend the plight of the poor and those slaughtered. Sudah tengok perbedaan. Tidak layak jadi Perdana Menteri sekiranya orang dibunuh, wanita dan anak-anak kecil, tidak menyentuh tamir hati nurani kita. Ya, jadi apatah lagi kalau dianggap sebagai tokoh Islam, orang Islam, manusia, rakyat Muslim bukan Islam yang diapa-apakan begitu, tidak menyentuh hati nurani, masih menunggu apa yang Washington kata. Kalau Washington keras, kita pun akan ambil sikap yang keras. Kalau Washington agak berlembut, kita pun berlembut. Kalau Washington kata we deplore ataupun we regret, maka Wisma Putra pun we regret. Apa arti kebebasan kemerdekaan? Dan dalam hal ini, kemanusiaan. Sebab itu, saudara, dalam pengalaman kita menghadapi soal Mesir, saya beritahu kepada Saudara Azmi, dan sebelumnya dalam mesyuarat rapat pimpinan ketika bilang, saya suarakan, kalau orang menganggap ini tidak mengharapkan pimpinan negara, bisu dan clue tidak berkata, kerana tidak ada seolah-olah satu direction yang jelas dari Washington. Saudara, saya memilih untuk dekati dan dialog semua. Sudah Muhyiddin selalu tanya mengapa saya teruskan dialog dengan Amerika Syarikat. Tetapi sudah dibedakan, kita tidak harus sedikit pun terarah atau terpengaruh dengan dasar mereka. Kita mesti pertahankan hak dan kebebasan. Sebab itu saya berulang kali menyeru Datuk Seri Najib sebagai Persatu Perdana Menteri untuk menyatakan pendirian dan media, terutama yang milik UMNO, jangan berdolak tali seolah-olah Morsi diktator. Ini diktator di Malaysia. Bayangkan, Mubarak sahabat, Morsi diktator. Ya, ini dunia sudah terbalik. Ya, hanya melambangkan orang-orang yang berpenyakit yang tidak faham apa arti kebebasan dan kemanusiaan. So finally, in the discussions with Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan, he said, Anwar, I met leaders, had extensive discussions with them. I persuaded him to call on SB1, the president you know of Indonesia, because I know the sentiment in Indonesia is very strong. From Jakarta to Medan, you find massive demonstrations expressing, condemning the coup atrocities against the people. So I expressed to Prime Minister because 2 months ago I had a private 1.5 hour session with President SB Yudhoyono. Of course, we talked about the fraudulent process in the elections in Malaysia, but I urge to probably enhance Indonesia's role internationally, because it's a very difficult time for the world. We expect now to see Indonesia play. We're not standing. I also said to Prime Minister Erdogan, please do call Dato Sri Najib, Prime Minister. He smiled, he thought I wasn't serious. I said no, to the contrary. I mean, we have expressed, you should call and urge to stay. But ultimately our position is the masses must speak. This is why I think I commend the effort of Azmi and Mabib, because in every way possible, to get people to understand. Because the media seems to play that he's incompetent. Morsi, incompetent. Last night, Amar Musa, the former Secretary General of the Arab League, in a long interview with the BBC, in Hard Talk, said, we the Egyptians are disgusted because the economic policies were flawed. But this comes from Mubarak's ally for 20 years, who condemned this. Because what happened in Egypt has its ramifications to the Muslim world, and more so to Palestine and Gaza. And our brothers and sisters in Gaza cannot wait, because they are living in a ghetto. All sorts of, and the channel has been blown up, not by Israel, but by the Egyptian forces. Can you beat it? When I said this, some people say, no, you shouldn't put it that way, because you put Israel in somewhat in a positive light. No. Israel is clearly responsible in many of these atrocities. But the recent move to curb this flow is from Egypt. So, the consensus that I reached with Rashid Banusi, Sheikh Hamdawi, Tayyip Erdogan, is for the people. That's why you remember the book that we launched and translated, Thawra, Shabia. I mean, the people has to rise. Express yourself in every way possible. I'm glad that my takes this initiative. On the 1st, Sabahadi passed doing it. On the 6th, Habib told Mustafa to fully support the rally in the stadium, inshallah. At least we see that people are not just keeping quiet. Our dua and prayers, whatever support we can have, it's a daily calamity in Egypt, in Syria, in Afghanistan. And it's not going to end, as me has said, soon, but be counted. I'm leaving for Merdeka message this morning, and I think this is consistent with what I have to say today. I have earlier, after the coup, written a piece for the Al Jazeera English, which is widely distributed, which encapsulates this move on the attempt against Morsi is actually an attempt to deny the Islamists or political parties their right to be selected as leaders. They attempted so on Hamas very strongly. Hamas was steadfast, istiqamah, and withstood the challenges. Alhamdulillah, they were able to overcome them till now. They now targeted Akhwan. And secondly, if you accept this anti-democratic force to control the coup, then, as I said, the catastrophe will be expanded. May Allah help us and stop these atrocities, beginning with Egypt, to show that we can be counted. I would appeal here for Malaysia, not only Muslims, but I'm going to Perlis, Kedah today, tomorrow, Pahang, following that to Johor, to appeal to our non-Malay, non-Muslim friends here to come up together, because this is about democracy, freedom, and human dignity. Assalamu alaikum.